Hey you, and welcome to my channel. My name is Tina and my aim is to improve your drawings just like others have done for me when I just started out. In today's video I want to have a closer look at ClaireFontaine's PastelMat paper. If you've seen some of my other videos, you will know that this is my favorite paper. If you haven't, then this is the perfect time to subscribe to my channel. Each week I post a new video where I show you how I draw a certain subject, or a video where I give you general tips and pointers, or a video like this where I talk about some kind of material. Soft pastel is the medium I use almost all of the time, but on occasion I might dabble with colored pencil. So subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell, this way you'll know when I've posted a new video. Now apologies for the shameless self-promotion, and let's get back to the topic at hand. I've already got a video up about papers where I talk about 4 different papers. I'll have the link pop up in the screen as well as in the description below. Now, even though I still think it's a very informative video, it gives you more of an overall view of the papers and compares them to each other. So if you're in doubt between papers, then this is also a very good watch. But in today's video I want to spend more time on one paper in particular, and that is PastelMat. I will talk about the biggest advantages and why I love this paper so much, and I will also take some time talking about the negative points and why perhaps this paper isn't suited for you. Let me first start with a basic introduction of the paper, some first impressions as well as some interesting features. For starters, this paper doesn't feel like any of the other pastel papers that I have tried before. When it comes to papers suitable for pastel, you can put them in a number of different categories. One being the gritty surfaces. This is where the PastelMat paper falls into as well. Yet when you rub the surface over the paper, you would be amazed at how smooth the paper actually is. The paper also feels quite sturdy and heavy, which shouldn't be surprising as it comes at a GSM of 360. Quickly explained, this just stands for the weight per square meter, so the thickness of the paper. It goes without saying that the thicker your paper, the sturdier it is. The paper is also acid-free, which is also an important feature for your drawings. PastelMat is also available in a whole range of colors, ranging from your everyday white and black to a lot of useful midtones. You can also find variants on green, red and blue, so as you can hear there is pretty much a color that's suited for each project. Now my personal preference is a dark grey. Besides all the color options, it's also possible to buy this paper in a paper pad or to buy them in a single sheet. This last one is going to be the cheapest option, but on most sites you will have to buy them in a pack of 5 or more, making it a more expensive purchase. There is also only one side of the paper available for drawing, while the back side looks like this. I personally think this is great because I think it helps with the sturdiness of the paper, which in turn makes it a lot easier to mount this paper before framing. You can also buy a pastel board, which is basically the same, except the paper doesn't feel like paper but more like a sturdy cardboard. Other than that, it has the same capabilities as the paper. I don't think paying this extra is worth it, but that's a personal choice. Now, I have heard from some people that PastelMat isn't available in their region or that it is extremely expensive. If that is the case for you, there are other options out there, so don't despair, and who knows, maybe in the future the paper will become more accessible in your region too. Moving on to one of the key facets of a good pastel paper, layering. Basically, how well the paper is suited to take different layers and how easy it is to keep covering the paper, and how intense are your colors still going to be after multiple layers. At first, because of the smooth tooth, you might have the impression that this paper will not be able to take a lot of layers, but that clearly isn't the case. Layering is especially important when you want to achieve a realistic style, since it's by building your art pieces layer after layer that you will achieve this outcome. I personally find that the color layers very easily. I'll try to explain further what I mean with this. For one, you don't have to apply any extra pressure. Actually, doing this would damage the paper and fill it up really quick, which would be the worst thing you could do. Then secondly, you have a lot of control over the colors. For instance, it's quite easy to have a color from a previous layer show through on some places and less on other places. That is a level of control you have over your colors. You will also be able to use light colors over darker ones. Now I know this is a feature of a soft pastel and not a paper, but you do need a paper that will enable this. PastelMat does this with ease. You can even get heavy applications of white on top of your paper. Just a small side note, even though adding lights over darks is very possible, keep in mind that a white applied on black soft pastel, for example, can never be as vivid as the soft pastel would have been when there was no black there instead. This is worth keeping in mind for those times you want your darks or lights to stand out. Back to the layers then. There is an article on Jackson's where you can read a lot about the different papers and where you can find a chart comparing the different papers. Back to the layers then. There is an article on Jackson's where you can read a lot about the different papers and where you can find a chart comparing the different papers. According to Jackson's, you can get 30 plus layers on your paper. Now this may be true if you apply layers that are extremely light, but I have not yet reached such a number. I have found that on average I can get around 15 layers on my paper. Now compared to the previous number, this might sound like not a lot, but trust me, this is already a huge amount of layers. One key aspect is of course that you can draw as light as you can. This is something you might struggle with in the beginning, but the more drawings you have made, the more you will master this. Another important thing to mention is that I use high quality pastels. I'm using the following brands: Stabilo, Caran d'Ache, Faber-Castell, Derwent, Unison, Rembrandt, and so on. I'm not saying you need to go out and buy these brands, but it does mean that I have only tested the paper with premium supplies. Meaning I can only speak of the results on this paper with these kinds of materials. Moving on to the second key aspect of a good paper, which is blending. Compared to other papers, you have to work a little bit harder, but this isn't a big disadvantage since this gives you greater control over what you want to blend and what you don't want to blend. Now, blending is important for numerous reasons. One of the biggest will be that it will allow you to use and therefore buy less colors. You don't need purple if you have red and blue, for example. But you can only do this, of course, if the paper blends the colors together smoothly. Besides the fact that it's a little bit harder, PastelMat does give you great results. Blending will also fill up the tooth of the paper, giving you a smooth look. You have a few benefits because of this. 1. Because you blend it out, you will need to use less pastel. Less pastel also means you will be able to add more layers, so this will result in more layers. Secondly, like I just said, while you blend, you also push the pastel more into the tooth of the paper, and since you push it more into the paper, again, it's also able to take more layers. It's also extremely important if you want to achieve realism. Not only do you need a lot of layers for this, blending your colors will give your artwork depth in a way you cannot achieve otherwise. Now that I have talked about the two main elements that are important, let's talk about some of the other advantages of this paper. By far the biggest one that I find is how little dust there is when you are working with this paper. Normally, when you work with soft pastel, there is quite a lot of dust. Of course, this depends on the brand and kind you use as well. For example, a soft pastel stick from Unison will give a lot more dust than the pit pastel from Faber-Castell. My point is, there is dust. There is actually quite a lot of dust. But not so much if you use PastelMat paper. Out of all the papers that I have tried and used, this paper handles the dust like a pro. This has several benefits, the main one being when there is less dust, there is also less chance of smudging happening on your artwork. Also, the feeling you get when you run a pastel pencil across the paper is amazing. It kind of feels like slicing your knife through smooth, soft butter. I don't know if this is an advantage, but for me this definitely gets extra points. This paper is also suited for a variety of art styles. Whether you want to create vibrant abstract paintings, landscapes that are more out of focus, or highly detailed styles like the one I like most, or more expressive portraits, this paper isn't a one-trick pony and is suited for every type of drawing you wish to create. Another thing worth mentioning is their ability with water. Now, this isn't something I do myself, but I have read and seen quite a lot of people who have tried and are happy with the outcome. My guess is that due to the fact that the paper is so sturdy and hefty, and that it also comes with that harder coating at the back, this allows the paper to be more enduring when you add liquids to it. If you have tried this, please feel free to let me know in the comments below how this went for you. The paper is also suited for different mediums, colored pencil being the one I see most frequently, besides pastel of course. I've seen people achieve really beautiful results with this medium on this paper. It will be possible to layer the pencils more than you could on other papers, so that will be the biggest benefit, I assume, whereas the biggest drawback will be the fact that the paper will kind of eat your pencils. Besides colored pencil, it's also possible to use acrylic paint or watercolor pencils, although I don't speak out of a personal experience for all of these mediums. But I do think that if you are an artist that dabbles in a lot of mediums, this is a big advantage of the paper. Moving on to the disadvantages of the paper. This section will be short and sweet. First up is their price. There is no way around it, this is an expensive one. Let me pull up a picture where I compare the price to some of the other papers out there. Also, please keep in mind that I'm using only one source to compare the price, and that is Jackson's art. These are also the prices from August 2021, so if you are watching this video later or from another region where Jackson's isn't available, these prices might not apply for you. Now, as you can tell, they rank among the most expensive papers. The real question is then, is it worth the price? I strongly believe that it is. For me personally, it's the only paper that I love to work on. I also don't buy them in paper pads, but I buy them in a pack of 5 big sheets. Now mind you, this is a big price to pay at once, but it does get the overall cost down. A few small things I can mention are the following. A detail in my opinion, the paper isn't available in pure black. If this is the color you like working on, then you're out of luck. Although since they started out with 8 colors and have since then extended to 14, who knows, maybe in the future it will become available. Another thing is if you're using other mediums, for example colored pencil, the grit of the paper will wear them down sooner. Of course, this is to be expected. And that's it for the cons of this paper, well, at least in my opinion. I believe the price to be the biggest setback of this paper. By now you've already consumed quite a lot of info, but I will give you one more quick summary. Before I do that, since you made it here, I would love it if you would like, subscribe and hit that notification bell. It really does do wonders for my channel and I appreciate it a lot. In conclusion, I would say this is an amazing paper for pastel, and if price isn't an issue, this is the only paper I would advise using. When it comes to other mediums on this paper and even wet applications, this is all possible, but since I haven't tried this out myself, I won't advise it. I can only say that I heard good things from other people, and so it might be a good idea to test it out for yourself. Let's talk about when price is an issue. I would say depending on your art style, this paper is more or less important. If you are creating in a more expressive style, I imagine you don't need as many layers, and that is where this paper truly excels. So in a nutshell, if you are working in a style where you don't use as many layers, let's say 5 or less, another paper might be as suited. If, however, your art style needs more layers, you can always use a cheaper paper, but I truly feel that your artwork will improve when using PastelMat. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate your support, as this helps to grow my channel and reach other people just like yourself. Hope to see you again next Friday, and in the meantime, have a great week.